whatever, or everything is of the devil and whatever. So anyway, I was able to actually get up and work out being on that stuff because it was just took my pain away. It was awesome. And I was also on a lot of things that helped me not have as much inflammation. So that must have been it. Maybe I was doing both. I don't remember. I think it was probably I did it more when they told me there was nothing they could do for me. So when they told me there was nothing they could do for me, I ended up in the hospital because I went off of everything, even my thyroid meds. I just was done with the medical system. And that was awful. That was terrible. And then I went crawling back to my allergist. He's the one who gave me the vancomycin, because I told him before I'd gone to the hospital when I went off the chemo, I got really bad, and when I went on Vanco at the hospital, I couldn't believe how good I felt. And sometimes Vanco or high antibiotics are great for Lyme and those kind of co-infections, blood infections. Anyway, I didn't know that, but then I got scared to be on the PICC line for so long because it was like 6 months, and I just was worried about getting other infections. And so I don't have it all straight, but you get the gist. And so when I went off of the hydrocodone and I went off of all of these meds, he couldn't deal with how sick I was. He never could. And was that when he left me for 7 years?
Yeah. Pretty much. It was kind of scattered throughout, like, my timeline.
I know, me too. It doesn't matter. Basically, I was bedridden for 7 years, and he just ignored me.
Yeah.
He would bring me, I think, a little bit of food.
Yeah.
But
and during that time, it was mostly
because we lived there for 9 years, right? We lived there for 10 years. Was it 10 years? 10 years. I think I was on the hydrocodone when I was at church at Cedar Park. So he went to a church that I would consider had a lot of cult people there. And when they, I think, found out that I was on hydrocodone or whatever, they were like just ashamed of him, I guess, that I was on this. And like it literally gave me a good 5 years with my kids. That made a huge difference. I could actually function and sit with them. Otherwise, I would be up in bed moaning, and I couldn't even lift my head. So that was a blessing. But I got off of all the meds, and then people said to him when he started to go to this church, well, you know, some women don't get better because they don't submit. I mean, I don't know how much more I could have been submissive to him.
Yeah.
So he comes home and he proceeds to tell everyone because he really believes it. He thinks he's helping us all. I think in his mind he's thinking, aha, it's her fault. She's just sick because of sin. I mean, ask anyone. I was a very dedicated, over-the-top Christian. I mean, I would say, you know, a little zealous, you know. But it really meant a lot to me because I was a big sinner. So I just wanted people to be forgiven. And because I couldn't go to church, that was like, ooh, you know, your wife must really be a problem. And that was when it went downhill from there. Yeah. And Rachel ran out of the room screaming, and I couldn't believe it. And I still had a hard time because I still believed that he was a really good father. But I think that was the point around there, maybe that year or a couple months, where Ashley said, he's not my father. And I was like, what? I didn't pay attention. Or I wasn't aware, and he was very fake. That's why anybody that believes him, my dad that believes him, the church people that, I believed him. I got duped. So I get it. He's very convincing. Yeah. But I had a very strong connection with Ashley, and really all of my kids, but especially Ashley. And when she said something, because she was the most obedient, sweetest, the biggest blessing you could ever imagine. I'm not saying she didn't have a little Pharisee in there that we had to deal with, but Mama dealt with it. Yeah. And that's why she's such, if you know her, you steppers, she's amazing. She always wanted to be a missionary, and she's the missionary that doesn't have to beg for support. She works for her. She makes tents while she's doing it. So she began to tell me that her father was not her father, and I was like, what? And I thought maybe she was bitter, just like what the church people do to me. Everything that they've done to me, I did to you guys. And I was like, oh, you know, let's go to counseling, and what's going on? And so Dane comes over, and I try to convince Dane that...
So Dane was from the church that he was going to?
He was a counselor, and Dane was like, oh, so you mean Mike and I need to, you know, play together and talk? And I said, yes. And then he goes into a different mode and throws us all under the bus, calling the girls Jezebels and psycho. And that was when I began to believe Ashley. I wept at the foot of my bed, and I started to believe her because I saw his behavior. Once you see who he is, you watch out. It's going to get ugly. Like Matt and Teresa Sabin, they saw who he was.
Because as soon as someone sees his dark side, then
he can't handle it. Yeah, he can't handle it.
Then you're of no further use to him.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was when things got really ugly, really bad, and I never knew that he was like neglectful. Everything that he told me about his own father this is what the kids said about him. And that's why I believed them, because I was like, oh my gosh, he put you guys in danger. She fell down a cliff. Like how far?
Really far. It was
Like
60 feet.
60 feet down
Okay,
a
but-
cliff.
Well, not like drop.
No,
Like,
I'm
it
saying
was
she fell.
Okay, can I say
Yes,
this so that I can
go.
reframe
This
it?
is your
Okay.
story.
So, so throughout like the time with my father, that, like in Oregon when we were at that horrible year, like he was around a couple that he found that like really
Oh, I
puffed him
forgot
up
about that.
and said that he was a great dad and everything. And I knew what was going on at my house, and I said
No one believed
you,
them.
and they said, and I said, you don't know what's going on at my house, and you know, like this and this is going on. And they told me, they said, your dad would never do that. He loves you. And inside I was just
And that's what
screaming.
this is about.
Because-
This is about believing women
Yeah.
and children. Women do not leave good men. Period. Sorry.
Yeah. And
Sorry. They do not leave. I'm not talking about a woman who is living in sin. We were not living in sin.
No.
Were we sinless? No.
No. And and it wasn't that, and I didn't even hate my dad. Like, I just knew I couldn't trust him. You know what I mean? And I would have loved to have had a dad. It wasn't like
But what about the danger stuff? When you guys told me that, was
then-
I shocked?
Yeah, and
then
he
I
would
still
always-
wouldn't remember it. I would go back and forth.
Yeah.
He could still come and manipulate me, and it would just drive
Yeah.
the kids nuts, because it'd be like, it's like you're telling me you're believing that he's abusive, and then your brain is so swollen, and we're talking to you again, and literally I would say the same thing day after day, because I had such bad encephalitis. They didn't know that, and of course I didn't know it
Yeah.
either.
So it was just like
The
torture.
most tormentive. It's a bad movie.
Yeah. So, but he would take us on these hikes where I never felt safe, because he would make us hike really
And why
long.
didn't you guys tell me that like right away when it happened?
Oh my
Because
God,
you
I
were-
always-
Oh, because I would forget. Okay.
This is the
It's
problem.
maddening. Anybody that has
So-
Alzheimer's, just think about it. I was like, what, in my 40s?
Yeah.
How old am I now? Whatever. I was. Anyway, really bad. But see, I can look like I'm really good, especially if I'm having a good day.
Yeah.
It's just like how my grandma was with Alzheimer's. You know, sometimes it was all there, and then other times grandma would just, and it was for
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah. So
And I am so sorry that
no,
I
it's
didn't
okay.
believe you guys.
It's okay.
Or
it's
that I couldn't
all,
remember.
You know, but he would take us on these really long hikes when not my kids, but when the kids were very
They were her kids.
when they were really little, and I never felt good about it, because
Which
I
is
was like,
why they're really such amazing kids. I wouldn't have done as good just on my own. And the Lord, He works all things together for good. Because of her, they're even more well-rounded. So
I was
all
very
things.
blessed to be able to.
She's like an English major who, you know what I mean? I
was-
hated writing.
yeah,
Anyway,
I
we're
was
we're
blessed.
opposites, so we made a good team.
I was blessed to be able to get to raise children, because I won't be able to have kids of my own. So I was very blessed in that way, because that was something that was always, I love kids. Every kid is mine. So it was just like I'm grateful to have been able to raise them.
Like any-
Yeah, you would take them on these long hikes, and Michael was like, you know, like barely 6 or something, and we would go for like 8-mile hikes. And
Were people
I just,
warning you guys too?
Yeah,
was
well,
that the
this
time
was-
that you fell?
that was when I fell, because
Remember,
Dad
we said he doesn't listen.
Dad likes to live on the edge sometimes, because it makes him feel alive, and it makes him feel
With driving, he does
powerful
that,
and
and
in
yeah.
control. So because he's small on the
He's
inside,
very
so anyway,
timid.
so he had us going on this really long hike, and up at the top of the mountain it was starting to get really slick, and we were on this hike. It was getting really snowy and really steep, and we had
Snowy.
yeah, because it was so that was how I slid, because there were two couples.
Every story's
that-
like I just hear it for the
I know,
first time.
I know, and that's why it gave me so irate.
Oh.
So there were two different couples that came to us. They had snowshoes on, they had gear, they had poles, and they were like, you guys shouldn't be going any further than where you are, because it's really, really slick up here. And they had shoes with spikes.
Oh.
They had poles, and Dad's like, oh, it's fine, you know. And I was just at this point, I was probably 14, and I was livid, because I felt like he was taking my kids into danger.
And that's why
and
I
he
got
wouldn't
angry
listen
at
to me.
him, because he began to do that with Michael. He wanted to take Michael out on individual hikes.
Yeah, but so I was so upset, and we kept going, and the path kept getting narrower and narrower.
I'm
and
gonna get angry like it's the first time I heard it.
It was on this cliff edge where there was just nothing but this just huge, this huge. It was so steep. It was so steep. It was this huge snowy cliff face, and he had us walking on this tiny little goat trail thing, And
Like how narrow?
Oh, and then
Like,
all
about
the
this-
Oh
kids,
my gosh,
and
are
all
you
the kids
serious?
are crying.
Yeah.
We are
You were
sobbing.
crying? Oh, I'm gonna get mad.
Sobbing.
And
And
I'm gonna
Dad,
get a
you know
cup
what
of
he
water.
was doing? He was laughing.
Yeah.
He was laughing.
because it makes him feel powerful.
That's what he did when I told him. That's what he does. He laughs at you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get some water. Keep
Okay.
going.
And I was walking last because I wanted to make sure that everybody was okay in front of me. So as we were walking, I knew someone was gonna fall, and
You did?
I knew it.
Oh.
And I'd rather have it be me than like I'm so glad it wasn't Buddy. So anyway,
Because he would have.
he wouldn't have been able to get up.
He would have hit a tree.
Yeah.
There was a tree that actually was so close to hitting when she
Yeah.
slid down the mountain.
And there was a great big lake down at the bottom. So
camera and share with us, please.
So anyway,
Lulu.
I missed my footing and I slid down, and I thought, this is it, I'm gonna die. Like I thought I was gonna die. And then and I told Dad because he was at the top, and the snow was so slick that I knew that if he came down to try to get me, he would just take me
Grab
down
a
with
stool
him.
and come sit by me, please.
Which was like, to me, it's like, there's always some meta thing. And I, like, in my head, I was like, if my father comes to try to get me, he's going to pull me down with him. He better not come down this cliff face. I need to get up here on my own. And that always stuck with me for the rest of my life because I was like, I have to do this by myself. I have to do it by myself. So I literally had to, because there's
How
a
long did
lake.
it take you?
A couple minutes, So and like the kids were just freaked out, and
Aw.
so it was yeah. So
Trauma.
so I was able to get up to the top, and Dad was just kind of laughing it off, and I was just so
You
furious.
told me what had happened after I started to wake up, and you said, he's not my father. And I was like, what? And I cried. I was like, well, let's go to counseling. Can you forgive him? And you said, I forgive him, but he's not my father.
Mhm.
And I just assumed that you were bitter. And I was like, what is going on? And then that was when he started to take Buddy out on his own. And that was when we got in a fight, because he was going to take him out at like 8 o'clock at night when it was already dark, and it was a whim going camping.
So after that event, like that was the very last. Like there was no ounce of me that man was my father. There just was no ounce of it. So and at that time, I think we had kind of already listened to Switchfoot and stuff. So I mean, you guys will probably know because I talk about it all the time. But I had like kind of adopted John Foreman as my dad, and I held on to that. And when I
gotta
told
wrap
my
this
mom
up.
that,
We do.
no, I know. When I told my mom that, she was just like, we got to go to counseling, so it started this whole.
So I
series of-
tried to get the family
Yeah.
together and heal them through counseling, and then Mike turned on us so bad because he was so upset. He said, well, I traveled a lot. They might have a different story. And that
Yeah.
was his
That
his
was why
whole
why
cover.
he said that
I
we weren't
traveled a
close.
lot.
Yeah. When I think I was 19 at this point, and basically what was starting to happen was my dad was really starting to lose it, and he was becoming
Because I wasn't
really-
worshiping him anymore.
Yeah.
Once I saw him, because when the kids revealed who he was, he turned on me.
Yeah.
But a high class abuse people too.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's what makes it harder, is those men that don't care. And I would say,
Yeah.
even my own father, so you're abused. Oh well.
Yeah.
That's probably why I married somebody that was abusive.
So after, and I think guys, because they think if they put a roof over your head and money,
Yeah.
they get to.
Well, that's
just
what
do whatever
Jerry
they want.
said. Rhonda, I feel really bad for you. You're going to be homeless if you don't stay with
So
us.
there was a lot of counseling stuff that tried to go on, and then my dad he was just getting more and
Awful.
more religious.
Oh.
He was getting more
That's
and more.
right. Oh, Lou,
he-
you need to come and talk about that.
He was reading from Deuteronomy and saying that she had lesions because she was sick or because she was in sin. He demanded that my brother pray on his knees. He wanted the younger ones to go to these really intense Bible
Quiz competition.
kind of really culty stuff.
And I said they didn't have to.
Yeah,
And that was when he really threw him under the bus with any
Yeah.
of those church people. It was
Yeah.
like I was like,
Yeah.
anathema.
And he was very unstable. He would fly off the handle if he was starting to yell more. He was, and he did some yelling.
The
before,
main
but
thing
it
was
a
when he
lot.
went to take Buddy on that camping trip or
Yeah.
that hiking trip. He spent the night with him. He was all just a jerk about it. And I said, can't you leave in the morning? I mean, do you have any food planned? Did he ever plan food for you guys? Or did he plan for anything? No. And maybe he'd have a few cookies. And guess what happened? Didn't Michael, with Dad, didn't Michael almost drown
Yeah.
when he told me? And that was it. And that was when you guys told me that you fell down the cliff. And I was like, whoa, what is going on? And then I would go in and out of memory. But then when I finally was like, he turned on me.
he would come home and he would say, "Where's your mother?" You know what I mean? And he would like.
I
come at
couldn't
me
take
like,
his abuse.
Who are you having an affair with? And we were all like, "What the heck?"
Because I didn't even leave the house.
No, yeah, and she was totally housebound. She's got.
He cut me off of all
over.
of my friends.
And she would be so distressed that she would go hide in closets
because I couldn't take him.
See him. And so then I started taking.
Because he would religiously harass us.
Yeah. But then, I started taking, because I couldn't handle her hiding in a closet. I said, we're not
going
just
to.
like
The reason
Carrie.
why the religious abuse ramped up is because we stopped going to church.
Oh, exactly. And then those people over there were just pumping him up to just,
Yeah.
you've got to be more aggressive.
We didn't want to go to that church because they were saying, that my mom needed to submit and all this stuff, which just
And
wasn't
that you were a
true.
Jezebel because
Yeah.
we tried to help a kid that was abused himself.
Yeah, and so they turned on us
Whatever.
and said that we were like sluts.
Anybody
and
that
Jezebels.
knows me knows
Yeah,
that I
we,
cared
like,
about kids. Just saying they're very, very good girls. But, just like Jesus, falsely accused.
So anyway, so we
So we
stopped
spent a
going
lot of
to
time in
church.
the van.
And yeah, I would just take I would say, okay,
I could barely walk. Carry me out there.
Yeah, I would get everybody into the van, and then I would find a different place pretty much every day to
Cops
hide
would
out.
come up to the window.
And
We
that
just
only
watched
happened once.
movies.
That only happened once.
Oh, that happened a couple times.
Did it happen?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
One time with just you and I, and another time with all the kids.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
And
yeah.
it's like, I think we're on record, you
Yeah.
know.
So we would watch movies and stuff in the van, and thank God for the DVD player.
Oh,
And then he would fall asleep.
But-
And so he would fall asleep.
And then we would
snore,
come home at night
and we
sneak
would
back
sneak
the
in
house.
just to avoid him. How long did that go on? A long time? Like
About
a year?
a year.
A year. Remember, Lexi, when Dad would harass us and I would just be like, I can't hear his voice. So we would listen to these Seeds of Faith kids worship, which is my favorite. Anybody else knows me. I love kid worship besides C.C. Winans, John Foreman, and Switchfoot. Rich Mullins, a few. And what's his name? Stephen Curtis Chapman, yeah. I know I can never remember that because anyway. But I love kid worship, and so we would have headphones on and we would just be singing just to try to get through, but kind of to ourselves, And he would come and pull out the headphones and yell at us, and just like, and so we would just kind of have to just sort of take it,
Mm-hmm. And
take it and take it and take it, and just try to hide ourselves in the scriptures while he said that we were heathens and no, not heathens, witches in a coven.
Mm-hmm.
And Jezebels.
And during this time,
While we're listening to Christian
Yeah.
stuff just to get through the abuse.
yeah, and then Mama would still fade in and out from kind of memory. So
Always
I'd be
going
like,
back to him.
Mama,
Always going back to him.
she would always be like, oh, it's really not that bad. And I was like,
Your dad's trying.
and so there was a night where, I was already having panic attacks, like maybe a couple months before, but I didn't know what they were. So it was just like, I was starting to feel like I was losing my mind. I couldn't sleep, and I was like, my heart would race, and just like, I was having like disassociation, a bunch of stuff. Didn't know what it was. But I was just trying to hold it together for everybody else. And then I was just like, you feel like your nerve endings just get stripped. And so there was
you
this
all have
last
health
night.
issues.
Yeah, and there was this one night where I was out with you till 2 a.m.
That was, I
because
think,
we
when
were
the
really
cop came.
afraid. Yeah, and
You guys okay?
We came back home. We both fell asleep on the couch, and my
Yeah.
dad came down the stairs.
No,
and
we were sleeping on
No,
that
no,
couch.
yeah. I wasn't asleep yet though.
But I'm just
And
saying, we
so-
were sleeping on
yeah,
that couch together.
Yeah, together,
That
because
big
I was
couch.
like her bodyguard.
She didn't want to leave me.
No, I was very.
And that made him very angry because I wasn't sleeping with him.
Yeah, and so I was her bodyguard. I forgot about that. But so he came downstairs and he.
You could just wait for the movie.
Yeah.
It's very long and drawn out.
So then he ripped the blanket off of both me and my mom, and he got really up in our face.
Grabbed my arm.
Yeah, and he was like, "Who is she having an affair with?" And I just was like, "I have to leave. I can't. I could not." And what was hard
Oh, that's
for me,
right. Did we run out then?
No, I was just like, that was
You had
what
to
I
leave
was
the
done.
house. Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I can't do this anymore. I can't protect you, and you're going back to him every single time.
Yeah.
I can't do this. I can't. And so
That
it
was the
just
trauma that I
really
caused the
hard for
kids,
me.
which their biggest beef with me is my lack of memory, and then I would get angry and say, but that's not fair because I can't help it.
Yeah, but
So
for
it's
us,
just
it
a
was
vicious
just
cycle.
tormented because I was
Torment.
like, I am trying to save you from someone that
The
you keep going
torment
back
was
to because you
horrible.
can't remember how bad.
And
it
I
is.
just wanted to be a good mom and
Yeah,
keep
I
my
know.
family together. I was always,
it was horrible.
I'd been forgiven a
So-
lot, so I was always waiting for somebody to repent.
Yeah. So then after.
And he knew how to,
Yeah.
make it look good.
So, and then after that, basically, I moved out with Rachel. We were gone for 9 months, and then we came back. We were all living in a really small apartment at that time because they had moved out. When we
Wait a
moved
minute,
out,
we separated from him though. Dad was
In
out
the
of the
apartment.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
The girls were gone, and Dad was gone.
yeah,
And we were there, Lexi, for like 3 months.
yeah. But anyway,
So I
well, I was just gonna
separated
say
again.
they separated because we don't need to go into all the
Oh,
details,
okay.
basically what ended up happening was that they had been
I would
separated
always
on
try to
and off.
separate when I had my memory.
Yeah, so
Every time I had my memory and I did
Yeah.
better in my health, and he kept me and tried to actually murder me through lack of giving me money for supplements, because I had a wonderful protocol,
Yeah.
but he would never give me any kind of medication if you don't take it all the time. That's the whole point of taking the medication.
Yeah.
And he just would he would always just say, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. He would withhold food from me, bandages, topical pain relievers,
And I
all
had been
kinds of stuff.
I had been like pretty much her full-time nurse. Anyway, when I came back, because after we had moved out, it was a huge fiasco with our landlords and stuff. It was terrible. But anyway, Rachel and I came back to this apartment that they had moved into.
Well, they got basically
And-
kicked out because they sold their home.
Yeah.
And
So-
broke the lease on them. And
Yeah.
it was like a 1,347 square foot apartment. And so we were all sleeping in two twin beds together.
Yeah.
Rachel and Ash slept together, and me and Lexi slept
But
together.
anyway, yeah, I just saw how horribly neglected she had been, and I had been through my.
It was
phase
worse
of-
than ever
yeah.
because you took care of me.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah. So and
I didn't think about
yeah.
that. Well, mostly I got better when he left, and then he came
Yeah.
back, and I get bad again.
Yeah. So because of
Oh, and then
stress
Jerry and Laverna came into
yeah,
my life.
Yeah. But anyway, so she was having these huge welt things all over her legs, and
Just
there
tumors
were,
everywhere.
There were she was like screaming and moaning, and I couldn't take it anymore. I said, Mama, we got to get you to the hospital.
I'm not a big doctor or hospital person.
So
I hate going.
Yeah.
So I was
But I
kinda
just
stubborn
said
about it.
I just said I
Because you
can't
couldn't
I
treat me
can't treat
anymore.
you. I can't. There I keep doing
Well, the
surgery
lesions
on
were
you.
so bad on
The
my
blood,
bottom, and
the
I was,
blood that would come out. It
and
felt
Mike
like it
would just
never stop.
literally act like
Nothing was wrong.
nothing.
And
Nothing
I
was
would
wrong.
I would say to him, like, she really needs more supplements, and all he would say to me is that we didn't have
We
money.
just don't have any money.
And so we ended up taking you to the ER a couple of times, I think.
Oh, the
Like,
ambulance
call,
came,
yeah.
I think.
I was gone for one of the
You were
times,
gone,
but,
and Lexi called the ambulance. Yeah.
um,
No one would believe it if you met him.
Yeah.
But I had a friend, Marcia Ingram, and her husband was the same. He was a fireman, and she's like, no one believed him because he's Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah.
That's Mike.
Yeah.
He's a dual personality
Yeah.
person. He's one person at home
Mm-hmm.
and a completely different person out in
Yeah.
public.
I had health issues for
And
a long
I helped
time.
her.
And I've had a bad back since 6th grade, and it's only gotten worse and worse. But like because of all this stuff that was going on, my back never got dealt with at all. So it was like I probably wouldn't have the spinal issues that I have
Oh no, not
if
at all.
if this had been dealt with. But I was under so much stress, and I was under and I do forgive my dad. I really honestly do.
Because we've been forgiven.
But it's like
That's
you know,
that's not restoration. Restoration would be
yeah.
him
yeah.
owning it.
And people don't realize how much power they have over even healing their own family members. Like, you know, if you're the man of your household, if you love and cherish your wife and your children, they will
It's a
they will
healing
be
balm.
it's very healing. And that's all I can say. So my mom meets Jerry. Jerry's this pastor of this small church, and then he wanted to meet my dad because my mom said he was so abusive. And so Jerry kind of thought he could fix Dad, and that would be like a fun project for him. So then my dad bamboozles him and gets Jerry turned against my mom because my dad
Says that I'm a drug addict.
My dad knows all the religious lingo.
Yes. And because I wasn't in church, said that I was a drug addict, said that I was a terrible mother, and Jerry threatened to call Child Protective Services. Now, I might be difficult to live with, and it might be difficult to be married to me because I didn't want to marry him, but one thing I was a good mother.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that knows my kids knows that. So it was just like a kick in the gut, and I said to Mike, are you serious?
Yeah.
And I even asked my own dad to come, who eventually turned on me as well. So I'm like being like Jesus with the old Judas effect.
Yeah.
And then Laverna came, she said she's a nurse, she wanted me to strip down naked. I had never even met her. She wanted me to strip down naked and look over my whole body and get on the scale to see how much I...
Because they were accusing her of having
Bulimia
and eating disorder.
And that's another...
We're just stripping
what-
her of all of her dignity and saying that she was this horrible person that she was.
And he forced me to get a potassium test because he wanted to prove that I was bulimic. And it was just, I'm stubborn. It was like, I'm tired of you forcing me to do something. So I finally went and did it. And what did Dr. Hochberg say?
Yeah.
With Cousin Joe there as a witness.
Yeah, he said that if she didn't separate from Mike, then she wasn't going to get any better because he was
And that's the
causing her so
same
much
thing that
stress.
Matt and Teresa Saban said, who are
So-
wonderful people who've known me for like 27 years.
Anybody who's known us for a long time knows my mom and us kids and knows.
But
that
we've been pretty
you know,
isolated.
Yeah, but
You don't go to church, man. You are
Yeah. you're kind
you're
of
cut off.
That my dad will find people that he knows short term to turn
Yeah,
against.
these people don't
you
know
So
us.
and that's what's hard. And then
And who's
with,
going to think that somebody's lying about that? I mean, that's like,
Yeah.
you know.
So anyway, we.
And I'm a bit of a fighter, so I got a little sick of it,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah, Mama can have a temper. I mean,
Ooh.
like.
But being accused of my illness being my fault and that they're going to take my children away and he turns my own father against me, I was like, yeah. And that was why I was ready to go. I said, okay, Lord, just heal me or kill me. But this in-between thing just is I'm a type A, neurotic person who loves to go, go, go. And what God did was he worked it all for good. All that suffering in this life, you will suffer, but be of good cheer, for I have overcome the world. I know a lot of the suffering verses and the purification verses. And he said, if I suffered, you're going to suffer. And I had made a deal with him that, hey, this is my life. You can do whatever you want because he forgave so much. So all that suffering was good. But that was what I was saying about not going beyond the suffering, because Satan's crafty.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my kids who said, no, you shouldn't die. He should die. You shouldn't die. And I was like, well, you know, I'm making this deal with God that, you know, if I forgive him, because I was so angry. That was why I didn't want to live with him. Mm-hmm. That's why Jerry and Laverne see me all upset. It's like, yeah, because you have no idea what he's done to me. And then they didn't believe us, and even my own children. I would like, they're the ones who told me about how bad he was. Mm-hmm. And all he would say is, she's turned them against me. And it's like,
basically, it was on and off of you guys being separated. Then when we get to, then that's when you had your near-death experience. We'll do another video on that.
Oh, I know what I was going to say, though, is that I made a commitment to God. I said, if I totally forgive him, because I knew I was mad. Mm-hmm. I was so mad when we were separated. I was livid. And then I would feel guilty. Mm-hmm. Because I felt bad for him, because that's what my connection with him was.
And then
no, I made a deal with God. Said, can I go? Could I please just come home? I mean, I'm not a quitter. I've been dealing with this for almost 20 years, and I mean, I was like, Lord, you know, I mean, I thought 10 years I was going to get the old trophy and maybe get to be done, either healed or to heaven. I really didn't care which one it was, but it just kept going on and on and on, and he wouldn't let me he literally, and you have to ask Matt Sabin, you should do a testimony with them. He called me a drug addict because I took Benadryl. I read a book about chronic Lyme, why I can't get better, because I was a very disciplined person. It was frustrating because I ate very perfect. That was why I was so thin. It's hard when you can't eat much and you're just juicing for cancer, you know? And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to submit. I'm going to obey him and everything, and my kids were just so mad at me. I was like, you know, because you get brainwashed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Have sex even if you have tumors, and don't take CBD oil, which helped me sleep, and eat, and Benadryl, which helped me sleep. Because I tried to get off the Benadryl and take more CBD oil because it helps you sleep. Mm-hmm. And so I went off of that, and I almost died.
Because my dad was saying, you're such a drug addict.
You're a drug addict. The Benadryl, the CBD, you're a drug addict. And I'm just like, anyway, it helped with pain. It helped with a lot of things. Like I was off of hydrocodone for like 10 years or something.
Yeah. So anyway, so she was going to go off of everything, and she totally lost her appetite. She couldn't drink. She couldn't do anything. She was starting to slip away from me because basically she wasn't taking.
Because I was trying to obey my husband.
And
being an obedient, dutiful wife, and the kids got angry at me.
Yeah, I was so mad.
But I wasn't trying to give up. I was so
mad. I was so.
I can imagine. I thought I was doing the right thing.
Angry.
I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought, you know, he brainwashed me so much, even when I had all those kids, and then he tried to get me pregnant again when I was totally sick. I trusted him with my life. Trusting man is a snare. To trust in man is a snare. Do not trust in man. Love him, but you don't, you know, put your trust in God.
She was starting to slip, and she had two really close near-death experiences. She wanted to go, and honestly, I was prepared to let her go if she needed to go. I was just so upset that it was my father who was taking her from me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know what? I have fought to keep me alive since I was 12, to keep you with me, and I was totally ready if God was gonna take you, but to have him kill me, I couldn't do it. okay. I was just, I couldn't do it. And so, and, I told Mom, I was like, you go, I want to go with you. I don't want to do this. And, but I was ready for whatever was going to happen, but I just didn't feel like it was right that it was my dad.
So I fault Christy and all the people that they had praying, but I'm sure you're like,
you know.
which is why it was a blessing to have Chloe
Oh,
there.
totally. And so people were
Chloe
praying
was
for my
our
mom.
Esther.
People were praying for my mom that she
But
would
we're
stay.
also imperfect. I want to say
Oh,
this. And
very.
this is the
We
thing
all
that's so
lost
hard
our
about
temper.
the church life.
I mean, you know.
I'm talking about everybody. Anybody that acts fakey and perfectly perfect is just, it's not true. Oh, go on in. It's not true. And that's why we have to cover each other with mercy, because I know how much I can. That's why I forgive my parents. I mean, we all are our parents. We all, no one is perfect. In the church, people try to find people that are perfect. Like, it was one of the things that was hard, and some of the abuse that I did with my kids, verbally. I can be very just angry, and a lot of it's just because I'm in pain. And if you've ever been around a person that's sick or dying or is in chronic pain, I don't make the best patient because I quite honestly can't stand sitting around all the time. So if anybody knows me, I'm constantly
Always
researching.
going. Yeah.
My mind can't really stop. So it's just the way that I am. I'm
Yeah.
just a deep, a little bit
Yeah.
analysis. But I was an athlete, pretty tough. And I have the sweetest kids. Well, at least my two older ones are. The younger ones are more like me, so it all works out. I know how to handle them. But, and of course, they're the ones that didn't get the training. So I had kind of get a little back of what I did to my parents. You know what they say about reaping and sowing and karma or whatever. But didn't let them have a lot of feelings. So when I say that about the sports, in sports it was just suck it up, and I was, just always a champion, and I loved to, be the best, and, I hated being in second, second to anything. And so my kids didn't get to have their feelings a lot. And I think maybe I would like to do a talk where just if you let your kids parent you too, and I don't mean where they're bossy and that kind of thing, but I'm just saying they taught me a lot, and they're the greatest gift. So one of my favorite verses is that God works all things together for good. And if anyone meets my children, I am so blessed that I feel like I cannot complain about anything, because I know I never even thought I would have kids because I was such a tomboy and I hated my upbringing. But any woman that has children that they love and that they have a decent relationship with, they know what I'm saying, and it's beautiful. And that's why I think it's so great that you've created a family like with the Steppers and all of your friends. Ashley's a better person than I would ever be, and that's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. But he let me.
Just different.
But he let me. Don't interrupt me. But he let me bring them here, and I like the tough. But it was over disciplined, overwork. But this is where I pay a tribute to my father, because he instilled a lot of that in me, and it got me through, and it benefited the kids, and then they gave me the more tender side of things.
Listen to this song, Mom.
Let's just say that Lexi texted me yesterday and said, "You were the best father we could ever have." And I said, "Well, that's the nicest thing anybody ever said to me." Is that a wrap? I mean,
yeah, I just wanted to say really quickly. So this last part about
we're just bearing our souls, you guys,
Yeah.
because I would really appreciate continued prayer. Right now, I think we've staved off the eviction just because of there were no shelters. There was no place we could go. And I'm going to try to get a restraining order, and just trust God that Ashley's going to be able to finish college and live here, and that Lexi might stay and finish college here instead of going away, just because it's so stressful.
And if we have to move, we have to move. We're ready to go wherever
we
God
are.
wants
And
us
so
to.
I would have just asked that you would continue to pray for us, and I'm you can fast forward through this, or she's going to edit it or whatever, because it's kind of long, but it's we've been really attacked.
Yeah.
And I trust that God is going to use this to touch somebody, And he's a good God. He's never failed me. And this whole thing of like literally going to be homeless during this time was just bizarre. And the funny thing is there were no shelters.
Nothing but hope.
I mean, only God could help me. The good
Use
that
the
it brought a
pandemic.
worldwide pandemic.
Huh.
And I am somehow, he's so amazing.
Yeah. And just
And everyone has been so kind.
Yeah.
Anyone that has shared. I am one of the most proud people you'll ever meet. I am so independent and I like to do things on my own.
Yeah.
And this is why when I told God he could do whatever he wanted with my life, this is exactly what he had in mind. And if he had told me, I might have,
I think I'll skip that
Yeah,
part.
but that's why people think that I must be in sin or whatever. No, but I did sin a lot in my life. And I've been forgiven a lot. So I'm good with it. And then I would love to talk another time just about all the heroes of the faith and the stories that we learned. Because I was a new Christian. I'm in the Children's Beginner Bible. Not knowing, they probably thought I knew what I
did.
Read this.
Oh,
She
my
must know it. I'm
mom.
like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Everything. That's probably why we're so close, because spiritually,
We're about
the same age. Yeah. And they just loved me. I don't know
Yeah.
why. They just
Because
loved
you
me.
loved us. You know what I mean? It was like
I mean, what a rough chick.
she was very
like a
rough.
rubber scrubber. Anybody
she
that knows
loved
my
us.
grandma?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she loved us. And I just want to say for
And
anybody,
I'm a defender,
yeah,
that's why.
For anybody who like watches this, you know, and like wants to maybe overcome being abusive, like you know, like you
can be done.
It can be done, and God is so faithful. Like old patterns don't have to.
That's
be
why we need to
repeated.
put out my testimony about my childhood,
Yeah.
and then it'll help
And-
understand
and
what I came
people,
from.
Like, you know, I just think it's like one of the most beautiful things that you can do is to help heal someone in the world. They don't respect that because they think that people are there for them and to be used, you know. But when you lay down your life, when you really lay down your life for each other, like that's what my mom did for me, and then I was able to do that for you. And yes, there's pain, but there's a lot more pain if you're alone.
And we had so much fun.
You know, we did.
We
Oh,
had so
tons of
much fun. We've had some struggles. Yes, we have, and this is our this has been our valley. But
when we
came from the mountaintop, though. We
fun.
had a lot of good times,
Yeah.
and we did a lot of putting in good stuff that helped us through.
Yeah.
We had a lot of examples of these amazing missionaries,
Yeah.
and
Lot of
God
good
did
music,
that for a lot of good
good
music. Yeah. So we should do a thing about that. But do you think we should wrap this
Yeah.
up? I'm not
So
going to take
anyway,
charge
no.
of the interview. That's
No.
why she's interviewing me, because I'll just.
Well, I've been all over.
Rein her in.
Anyway. Okay, so anyway, but yeah, so thank you
But we did
guys.
pray before this, and I
We
just
did.
want to say thank you, Lord, and I pray that you would use it however you desire, in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you guys.
All right, that was good. I don't care if you edit that. I don't.
Yeah,
don't.
I know,
I really
me
don't.
neither. Yeah.
I think it's fine. I think
Yeah.
it's real. I think it's raw. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Put it out.